Hello, young humans. It's me. I'm back, your old friend, Michael Chabon. Sorry I haven't been here for a few days, but I'm back and I have a great story for you. It's If I Ran the Zoo by Dr. Seuss. There are a lot of great Dr. Seuss books out there. This is always one of my favorites. See what you think. It's a little long, so let's get started. If I Ran the Zoo by Dr. Seuss. It's a pretty good zoo, said young Gerald McGrew, and the fellow who runs it seems proud of it, too. See, Gerald? There's the man who runs the zoo. There's a lion. But if I ran the zoo, said young Gerald McGrew, I'd make a few changes. That's just what I'd do. The lions and tigers and that kind of stuff they have up here now are not quite good enough. You see, things like these in just any old zoo, they're awfully old-fashioned. I want something new. Here's Gerald now, imagining he's been put in charge of the zoo. The animals look a bit startled. So I'd open each cage. I'd unlock every pen, let the animals go, start over again. And somehow or other, I think I could find some beasts of a much more unusual kind. Look at him. He's had enough of that stuff. He's letting them out. A 4-footed lion's not much of a beast. The one in my zoo will have 10 feet at least. 5 legs on the left and 5 more on the right. Then people will stare and they'll say, what a sight. This zookeeper, new keeper Gerald's quite keen. That's the gall-darndest lion I've ever seen. What do you think? The 10-footed lion. My new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will make people talk. My new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will make people gawk at the strangest odd creatures that ever did walk. I'll get for my zoo a new sort of a hen who roosts in another hen's top knot, and then another one roosts in the top knot of his, and another in his, and another in his, and so forth and upward and onward. Gee whiz. Look at that. But that's just a start. I'll do better than that. They'll see me next day in my zookeeper's hat, coming into my zoo with an elephant cat. They'll be so surprised they'll all swallow their gum. They'll ask, when they see my strange animals come, where do you suppose he gets things like that from? His animals all have such very odd faces. I bet he must hunt them in rather odd places. How about that? An elephant cat. And these are the people who are very surprised. And that's what I'll do, said young Gerald McGrew. If you want to catch beasts you don't see every day, you have to go to places quite out of the way. You have to go places no others can get to. You have to get cold, and you have to get wet, too. Up past the North Pole, where the frozen winds squeal, I'll go and I'll hunt in my Skeaglemobile and bring back a family of what do you know? And that's how my new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will grow. Look at that Skeaglemobile. And there are the, who knows what those are, kind of look like walruses. I'll catch them in caves, and I'll catch them in brooks. I'll catch them in crannies. I'll catch them in nooks that you don't read about in geography books. I'll catch them in countries that no one can spell, like the country of Matafapatafapel. In a country like that, if a hunter is clever, he'll hunt up some beasts that you never saw ever. Look at that. Interesting architecture. I used to love looking at this picture when I was little. Imagining walking up all those steps. I'll load up 5 boats with a family of jotes, whose feet are like cows, but wear squirrel skin coats, and sit down like dogs, but have voices like goats, excepting they can't sing the very high notes. Here come the jotes. And then I'll go down to the wilds of Nantucket and capture a family of lunks in a bucket. Then people will say, now I like that boy heaps. His new zoo, McGrew Zoo, is growing by leaps. He captures them wild and he captures them meek. He captures them slim and he captures them sleek. What do you suppose he will capture next week? Here come the lunks in the bucket. There they are. He's pulling them up. I'll capture one tiny. I'll capture one cute. I'll capture a deer that no hunter would shoot. A deer that's so nice he could sleep in your bed if it weren't for those horns that he has on his head. Look at this. Look, here comes the zoo. There's McGrew, and look at that little creature with those amazing horns. And speaking of horns that are just a bit queer, I'll bring back a very odd family of deer. A father, a mother, two sisters, a brother, whose horns are connected from one to the other, whose horns are so mixed that they can't tell them apart, can't tell where they end and can't tell where they start. Each deer's mighty puzzled. He's never yet found if his horns are hers or the other way around. And look at that. All their antlers have gotten tangled together, see? I'll capture them fat and I'll capture them scrawny. I'll capture a scragglefoot mulligatawny, a high-stepping animal fast as the wind from the blistering sands of the desert of Zend. This beast is the beast that the brave chieftains ride when they want to go fast to find some place to hide. A mulligatawny is fine for my zoo, and so is a chieftain. I'll bring one back too. How about that? That's the mulligatawny. I don't know if that chieftain would be too happy about being put in a zoo, do you? In the far western part of southeast North Dakota, there's a very fine animal called the iota. But I'll capture one who is even much finer in the northeastern west part of South Carolina. When people see him, they will say, now by thunder, this new McGrew Zoo is really a wonder. So look at that iota. That's kind of how I'm feeling right now, except I have a beard too. I need a haircut. Most beasts are quite friendly, but still in some lands, some beasts are too dangerous to catch with bare hands. For those that are ugly and vicious and mean, I'll build a bad animal catching machine. It's rather expensive to build such a kit, but with it, a hunter could never get bit. Check this out. That's a pretty fancy looking machine. That's the mean animal. See how it's going to work? There's Gerald. Boop. A zoo should have bugs, so I'll capture a thwirl, whose legs are snarled up in a terrible snarl. And then I'll go out and I'll capture some chugs, some keen shooter, mean shooter, bean shooter bugs. There's a thwirl. Look at his tangled up legs. And there's the bean shooter bugs. Chugs, I believe they're called. I'll go to the African island of Yurka and bring back a tizzle-topped tufted mazurka, a kind of canary with quite a tall throat. His neck is so long if he swallows an oat for breakfast the first day of April, they say, it has to go down such a very long way that it gets to his stomach the 15th of May. Wow, look at that. Look how long his neck is. I'll bag a big bug who is very surprising. A feller who has a propeller for rising and zooming around, making cross-country hops from Texas to Boston with only 2 stops. Now that sort of thing for a bug is just tops. And when I've caught him, then the next thing you know, I'll go and I'll capture a wild tic-tac-toe with X's that win and with zeros that lose. He'll look mighty good in this zoo of McGrews. So, here, see that guy? He can fly as a propeller, see? Whoop! And this guy, here's the tic-tac-toe. It might be fun to have one of those around when we're stuck in our houses, huh? I'll bring back a gusset, a gherkin, a gasket, and also a gooch from the wilds of Nantucket. And 8 Persian princes will carry the basket. But what their names are, I don't know. So don't ask it. The zoo's getting pretty fancy, isn't it? In a cave in Khartoum lives a beast called the Natch that no other hunter's been able to catch. He's hidden for years in his cave with a pout, and no one's been able to make him come out. But I'll coax him out with a wonderful meal that's cooked by my cooks in my cooker-mobile. Then they'll fix up a dish that is just to his taste. 3 chicken croquettes made of library paste, then sprinkled with peanut shucks, pickled and spiced, then baked at 600 degrees, and then iced. It's mighty hard cooking to cook up such feasts, but that's how the new zoo, McGrew gets beasts. There's the cooks and the cookmobile. And there's the special dish that you have to walk across a tightrope to deliver it. I'll go to the faraway mountains of Topsk, near the river of Nopsk, and I'll bring back an Opsk, a sort of a kind of a thingamabobsk, who only eats rhubarb and corn on the cobsk. Then people will flock to my zoo in a mobsk. McGrew, they will say, does a wonderful jobsk. He hunts with such vim and he hunts with such vigor. His new McGrew Zoo gets bigger and bigger. There's the Opsk. And speaking of birds, there's the Russian Paluski, whose headski is redski and belly is blueski. I'll get one of them for my Zooski, McGrewski. How about that? And the whole town will gasp, why, this boy never sleeps. No keeper before ever kept what he keeps. There's no telling what that young fellow will do. And then just to show them, I'll sail to Katroo and bring back an itkutch, a preep, and a prue, a nurgle, a nerd, and a seersucker too. Wow. Look at them all. The itkutch, the perp, the prue, the nurgle, the nerd. Do you know that's what a nerd is? And the seersucker. I'll hunt in the jungles of Hippo-no-hungus and bring back a flock of wild Bippo-no-bungus. The Bippo-no-bungus from Hippo-no-hungus are better than those in Dippo-no-dungus and smarter than those in Nippo-no-nungus, and that's why I'll catch 'em in Hippo-no-hungus instead of those others in Nungus and Dungus. And people will say when they see these bips bounding, this zookeeper, new keeper, simply astounding. He travels so far, you'd think he would drop. When do you suppose this young fellow will stop? Look at that. He's doing a great job. Stop? Well, I should, but I won't stop until I've captured the Fizza-ma-wizza-ma-dill, the world's biggest bird from the island of Gwark, who only eats pine trees and spits out the bark. And boy, when I get him back home to my park, the whole world will say young McGrew's made his mark. He's built a zoo better than Noah's whole ark. These wonderful, marvelous beasts that he chooses have made him the greatest of all the McGrewses. Wow, look at that. That is a big bird. It's amazing it can even fly. Wow, they'll all cheer, what this zoo must be worth. It's the gall-darndest zoo on the face of the earth. Look at that. You might want to pause on that picture. There's so much to look at. Stare at that for hours. Yes, that's what I'd do, said young Gerald McGrew. I'd make a few changes if I ran the zoo. That's the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. I loved reading it. And I'll see you again. It won't be so long next time. Until I do see you again, stay safe. Be kind. Have fun. Bye.